Hi, I'm Anne from Game Like a Mother. Today I'm going to show you how to play Fantasy Realms. It's ages 14 and up. The box says it's 3 to 6 players, but it's actually 2 to 7 players, and it plays in 20 minutes. Let me show you how. The goal of the game is to have the most points total from your cards when the game ends. To start, we have a 3-player game set up here. Each player is dealt out 7 cards, and you just pick someone to go first. This works for 3 to 6 player games. There are different rules if you're playing with 2 players or if you're playing with 7. To start, we'll say this player's going first. They have to draw from the stack if they're the first person, and all you do on your turn is you draw a card, and then they would look at their cards and pick one to discard. Their turn is over, and now play progresses clockwise. This person gets to go, and they have a choice. They can draw from the stack, or they can draw from the cards that have been discarded. We'll say they draw from the stack again, and they look at their cards, and they can discard any of them. Well, they'll just discard the one they just drew. So they go ahead and do that. It's this person's turn. They can either draw from the stack, or they can draw from any of the cards that are discarded. It doesn't matter if it was earlier. It doesn't matter if play keeps on going and they've discarded a card and then they decided to pick up the card they themselves discarded. Any of the cards out here are open games. So we'll say they pick up this one, they look, and they discard this other one instead. And you keep on doing that until there are 10 cards out in this discard area. And once the 10th card is placed, the game is over and it's time to score. So, what are the cards you're collecting and what do you need to know about them? Each card has 4 pieces of information on it. Each card has a unique name. There are 53 different cards in the deck. Each card has a suit associated with it. There are 10 different suits along with 3 wild cards in the game. They have different base strengths, which are points you get at the end of the game. These can range from 0 to 40. And then finally, at the bottom, they have a bonus or a penalty. Generally, it's the low numbers have bonuses on them, and the higher numbers have penalties. So for the Elven Longbow, you get a bonus of 30 if you have either the Elven Archers, the Warlord, or the Beastmaster in your hand, and you have this card. If you have one of the higher value cards, those will have a penalty. And so here's the big one. This is 40 points if you have Wildfire. However, it has quite the penalty. It blanks all cards except for these ones listed here at the bottom. Blanks means if you have this in your hand and you have cards that are not among the ones listed here. So if you have a card like a beast card, it's not listed as a card that is exempted from the blanks, so this would be blanked out. That just means assume this card is blank at the end if you're scoring it in your hand. So this has a value of 40, it has a name, it has a type. This, you just would imagine it's a white card. You don't get any points for it, nothing at all. There are some cards that can get rid of, that can clear penalties. So if you have a combination of those, you can get past some of these. So that's all part of the game, just collecting cards, getting rid of ones that are blanked or that don't optimize the score for your hand, and trying to have the most points at the end. For scoring, once there are 10 cards out here, everyone reveals their hands, and you use this scoring pad where you go through your cards one by one, and this player would, for the first card, you enter in your base value on your column, and then you take into account any bonuses or penalties, write that down below, and then have your subtotal, and then keep on going on for each card until you've done all 7. There's an option for an 8th if you have the Necromancer card, or you can do yourself a favor and just go to their scoring app that is online. You just search for Fantasy Realms scoring app. It's very easy to find, and then they have a handy thing where you can just enter in each card that you have, and they will total it up for you. In the 2-player variation, each player starts with no cards in their hand. Pick whoever gets to go first. They will draw 2 cards from the stack, choose to keep one, discard the other one out in the middle, and this card remains a secret. And then this person has a choice. They can either pick 2 cards and discard one, or they can just pick the card that's in the center and have it face down in front of them, and then they don't discard anything because that's just the only card they picked up. So you get to take turns drawing 2 cards and discarding one until someone ends up having 7 cards in their hand. At that point, you revert back to you draw one and discard one, regardless of if you play from the middle or from the draw pile. And you continue until there are 12 cards out in the discard area, and that is the point when you stop and tally up your score in your hands. So that's how you play Fantasy Realms. The target demographic for this game is nerds. Huge, huge nerds. Just the theme lends itself to that. This is a great game if you have a Dungeons and Dragons crew that want a nice little card game. This is your game. And apparently I should have played some Dungeons and Dragons in my day because I love this game and I am all in on this. The rule complexity for the game is medium just because the basics of the game are very simple. You're trying to maximize your score, but then some of the intricacies of which cards, abilities and how the point scoring on them can be a little bit tricky. And so for that, it's easy enough to figure out. You can use their free scoring app. If you just look online for Fantasy Realms scoring app, it takes you to the WizKids website. They have a really easy, nice app for scoring, and if you go to that, it can clear that up, but it just means you're having to consult something, especially the first few times you play, which isn't bad, but just something to consider. How competitive is this game? It's medium. If you're playing it well, and if you're playing with a group, you can kind of try to keep track of things like, oh, they're trying to collect these type of cards, so I'm going to try to make sure I'm not placing those out there, or I'm waiting to discard those at the end so they can't get them. But mostly it feels like you're competing against yourself and trying to just build your best possible hand, and it's you working with the cards that you've been given or that you've selected. The replay value is high. I really enjoy that the basics of the game remain the same, but you can't just have the same strategy where, oh, I just like to collect these type of cards or go for this. It really depends on the cards you've gotten and what you're choosing to do with those that change each game, and so it's fresh and interesting every time you play. Similar games, first of all, there is a Marvel remix version of this game if you would like a different theme, or if you think that would make it so more people would play this game with you if it had like a Marvel theme. But if you're just looking for a solid and interesting card game that you could play in a short amount of time, I would highly recommend Lost Cities. You're going on different expeditions. It's just a 2-player game, and you are trying to score the most points. And there's certain considerations to take into place as you have to pay to embark on the missions, and then you can do wager cards. So it's simple, but there's quite a bit going on, and I could happily play that game on repeat for ages and ages. And then also, Red 7 is such a great little card game. You are trying to just be the last one in play each round, and your cards have a dual function where you can use them either to change the rules in the center so that your hand of cards in front of you wins, or you can play them in front of you to change your hand. So you can choose either of those. There are some power cards as you play, so you can draw more cards or change other people's hands. So it's simple, but there's quite a bit going on. And I mean, we are just loving Fantasy Realms. Nerds Unite. Apparently, we're happy to join your forces. It is a great game. You should check it out. Thanks, and see you next time from Game Like a Mother.